me that much because I didn't buy that for myself.
I have a board you can connect that up to.
Like, hold on. Like,
the guitar.
Okay, we're live now, I think.
Oh, we're live. Oh, okay.
We're live now?
Yeah.
Hey, everybody!
Hello, everybody. All right. So, it's Joe and Stu on the Pearlo Wisdom Show. I haven't done the Pearlo Wisdom Show in a while. I've been doing some work and stuff. But I figured now, you know what? I think I got it lined up where I work that I might be able to do this more often now. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Cool beans.
So Steele and Joe, here we are. We're enjoying the playoffs this year. Man, this Colorado team, they pretty much just rolled over everybody, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, it was just other than the 1-6-2 game, they pretty much rolled over it in the entire postseason. And you knew Tampa was going to give some Joel back, and that's what they did in the 6-2 game, and that's what they did in their other victory as well. But just like they did all season, you two were right. They had every fight back, every answer to any response Colorado had, and they deserved the finals all ways, shapes, and forms. Even if we talk about that too many men thing, which I'm sure we'll get to. Both teams had 6 freaking people when you actually looked at the overhead thing. So technically, both teams sucked in that situation, and knowing how many people were supposed to be on the ice. So I'm fine with that, and at the same time, Tampa also sucked defensively. Because even if you have the extra guy on the ice, the first open spot should not be right down the middle of the ice. So just like that. So I think Tampa fundamentally was bad in the end in the Stanley Cup, and that kind of screwed them. They made mistakes you don't normally see Tampa make, and I think it was because they did tire. You guys kind of called it. I know we were talking about it for a while. They tired over time. It finally caught up with them. And when you tire, the fundamentals is one of the things to go sometimes because you try to take a little bit of a lapse on one play, and then you're like, oh, crap. And where with Colorado, you can't do that. So that's kind of how I saw it. But that's just the way I saw it, though. I don't know about you, Steele.
I'll tell you what. When we talked about this, I believe Pearlo, I can't remember where we were, but we were talking about this on one show that we were on or something, about how when Tampa Bay was playing against New York and when they came out and won Game 3, and you said that Tampa Bay wasn't going to lose any more games.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I was like, at that point right there, I thought, all right, Tampa Bay is going to go to the finals. And I think at that point we were not too far from knowing that Colorado was already going to go to the finals as well, too. So the fact that you talked about how Tampa Bay had dictated to all their teams that they played up until they got to the finals. And I think that Colorado dictated to them more so than Tampa Bay dictated. And both sides had guys missing. Do you know what I mean? And the big knock on Colorado was, well, you can't get past the second round. Oh, well, you haven't defeated a good goalie.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So they've defeated. Look, they actually had the shortest run to the Cup finals than any team almost in history. Right? They swept their first 2 rounds. So they only played 4 games. They had 9 days off between the end of their conference finals and the Cup finals. You know what I mean? So they were well rested. They were ready for Tampa Bay. They were straight up just the better team.
I thought that was going to screw them, though. Like, did you think? Like, I thought in a sense early that was going to screw them more than it did because Tampa would come out stronger. And then they smacked them in the first game, and then Tampa came out
first game they came out swinging, and I knew right from there. I was like, "Yep, this is going to be Colorado because it's who I picked from the very beginning." At the very beginning of the season, I was like, "Man, Colorado needs to redeem," and what Sakic did. especially what he did at the trade deadline, especially how he rejuvenated that goaltending room. And there was question marks on Darcy Kemper all up and down, and Francois or Frank, whoever you want to call him. There was questions on him too, but he was the consummate backup, and they played really good this past regular season. They amassed a great record between all of them, and they both missed time due to injury, and in the whole 9 yards. We got into the playoffs, and it was like, wow, big question mark here, man. We got Vasilevsky, who we know has won the Vezina. He's got 2 cups. He's got 2 rings. You know what I mean? And now you got him, and then they pulled him in game 2 or game 3. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? And it was like, I don't know, man. I just think Colorado. Here's the best thing that I've heard, and this is what John from Off the Wall Hockey and I talked about when we were doing one of the games, and he said that this is going to be a generational shift now, where teams were building like Tampa Bay. Now teams are going to build like Colorado, right?
That's what they're talking about. But I mean, I've heard this. I've heard that quite a bit. However, I don't know if teams were ever not wanting to build like Colorado. It's that in order to do so, I mean, you get McKinnon, you draft Rantanen, big, fast, speedy guys, whatever, right? But they were able to pay, like McKinnon's only making $6.5 million a year. Who doesn't want to build like that? Have a superstar making $6.5 million a year.
And they also know how to, like, when they overpay for somebody, like, they tend to always end up having it work out for them. Like the Lankinen, when you look at that trade on the surface, it looked like they overpaid for him. Well, who scored one of the more important goals? Artturi Lankinen. So they tend to find a way to just have everything fit into place. Nichushkin, best he's ever been with the Avalanche. So, like, they tend to just... Jack Johnson doesn't suck. So he actually started getting going again with the Avalanche. So, like, there's different things. And then on the other Johnson, it was nice to see Eric Johnson, U.S. Olympian, to actually win a damn cup. But Jack obviously got going too. So that just proves there's certain teams, and I think that's what you're getting at, Pearlo. They just have an identity that's unbreakable at this certain point, where they went from starting off poor with Bednar when he first started to now having Jared Bednar. The only thing he needed to be solidified as a top coach was a cup, because that's the only thing that he still didn't have that was still putting some doubts in people's minds. Now that he has that, you know he's one of the top guys, right up there with Cooper and other guys in the league, because now he has the couple to his name as well, which a lot of that goes into the roster, like Cooper and himself give the roster credit for, but also goes into your system. And both of those guys are pretty flawless systematically, too, in terms of protecting their goaltender. So I think a lot of that goes into it as well, which is why I've been so impressed with Colorado, because they're just perfect at puzzle piecing their roster together. They're one of, like, Peyton and I know talked about it months ago when you and him were on a show, Pearlo, about the way they, like, I'm a guy that likes using every dimension. So I use eyesight, the analytics, and the regular stats, and smush all three into a smorgasbord of, I like using eyesight as the main thing, though, into a smorgasbord of a decision on a player. Where I think Colorado, though, they are a team that make me trust analytics a little bit more. Because when you look at the way Colorado and Tampa, both cup teams were, they just know how to fit the roster like the Coltons of the world into the roster like it's a perfect match. And that's the difference that not many teams in the league have compared to what Tampa still is going to have, no matter how the roster adjusts for money over time. They're still going to have that. And what Colorado has. And that's also what, as much as people don't like to compliment this organization because of away from the ice stuff, that's also what the Blackhawks had when they had to literally flip the cup team because they had no damn cap. And then got new core players to go with the Canes and Tays to be the secondary core to those two, and won again. So there's certain teams, and that's also why I think Chicago will be good again in 2 or 3 years. There's certain teams that know just what to do, when to put people together, and who to trust at a certain point. Where they have blimps, obviously everybody has bumps in the road. It's the nature of the beast. But these teams tend to know how to figure it out the most. Like the Avalanche remind me of the Rays in baseball, except for they actually can spend on a couple guys. Where the Rays did start spending more, but they're just so good analytically that they make you trust analytics more. We're like, again, somebody that looks at all three. The Avalanche, though, are definitely a team, as well as the Lightning, that make you think maybe I should look at this a little bit more. So
they're the things that are the things that are going to change if you're going to follow the Colorado pattern. The things that are going to change, okay?
Fire Chuck Fletcher.
No. If you're going to follow the if you're going to follow the Colorado pattern in other NHL teams in building a team, the things that are going to change. You don't need Reeves. You don't need garbage guys just because they can beat people up.
Oh, bro, that's the thing though. Like
you don't need that.
Because look at what the Rangers did. Look at what the Rangers did playing that style. So, I still think Gallant's style is a style.
The Rangers got Shesterkin in a power play. You're not going to win a cup like that. Their 5-on-5 play is horrible.
Oh, no, but that's also because their defense isn't good yet. Their defense is good. Andre Miller is going to get better over time.
Right.
Okay, I'll tell you what.
Their defense is still
developing. But they don't need Reeves. Reeves is gone.
No, they don't need Reeves. But Reeves will get signed.
No, I'm with you. But the thing that I think of is this. They are going to continue to evolve. And they are going to continue to grow and make the moves that they need to make. And the draft is coming up. Okay? And then free agency is going to happen.
Or are you talking about the Lightning?
No, I'm just talking about how my take on teams moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah, because you guys are talking about all these guys and who's going to come and go and stay and move. Look, teams haven't evolved yet into what they're going to be next year. And so I can't look at who's going to do what for next year yet. But what I can say is this, I think that what Pearlo said is that it's going to be teams are going to build now more leaning the way Colorado did. And look, when LA won, teams started going how LA was doing it. When Chicago won, teams were building it like Chicago did. When Tampa Bay won, teams were doing it like Tampa Bay did. Now, if Colorado continues,
you emulate what works. That's why in baseball, people are starting to build it. That's why I brought up the Rays, because people are starting to go back to we have to have 3 contact or a little bit more contact, so it's not a bunch of people that just swing and miss all the time and give the fans wind. So I think I agree with you with that. It's more, I think there's still 2 ways to slice the cake. The Vegas always played harder still and hit more since they came into the league, but are still a faster team. Ryan Reeves, that's an example Pearlo gave. Obviously, guys like him that are not a quick skater, those guys are going to kind of, unless if you do something else really great, you're going to kind of dwindle out with the way the league's going, unfortunately, for that. But if you're a guy that can smack somebody and do other stuff, you're still very valuable.
Well, you gotta be. If you build Colorado, the first thing they care about is you're the best possession 2-way players they can find. That's the first thing they care about.
Well, I would say the Rangers have a decent amount of those. Also have
the Rangers do not. No,
Capo Kakko is a pretty decent position.
Yeah, and they want to get rid of Kakko. They're talking about getting rid of Kakko. You don't trade Bushnevsky for Sammy Blais and Goudreau. I mean, no, Goudreau's a horrible possession player. Tampa Bay brought him in for a good 4th line guy, and as soon as he wasn't a 4th line guy, he's gone. Smart move.
Pretty much. Yeah. Okay, so now.
Strome's also not a terrible possession player. They just
he's gone too. He's gone too.
Yeah, well, he's going to be. I'm just saying they're getting rid of the wrong people. But I'm saying last year they didn't have a bad possession team. In my opinion,
well,
they just didn't utilize everybody all the time until at the Gallant kind of saved himself in terms of once he figured it out big time. But at first he was kind of doing what Colleton did in Chicago and just kind of putting a bunch of people all over the place, and you're like, kind of solidify the lineup play. So it was nice that he was able to figure that out because the first half was all Shesterkin, and then they kind of balanced it out, except for the playoffs.
They got better, and they could get better, but as of right now, they're not. Anyways, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to ask you guys. So you guys think that?
Well, I think the Rangers are.
Let him finish, Joe. Let him.
Let me finish. Let me finish. So you guys think that there's going to be teams that made the playoffs, a la the Rangers, that are going to go take a step back? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think the Rangers are going to take a step back, but I do believe that they have to improve their 5-on-5 play significantly if they're ever going to actually win anything.
Okay, and Joe, you think that they're going to take a step forward?
Well, I also think the Rangers have a lot of young players we're not considering. Like Schneider, Lundqvist are all going to get better. Like their defense, like I don't agree. I don't think their top heavy defense is good now. Their top three, and then Jacob Trouba. Nemit's not that good. Where you have Snyder still developing, he's not great yet. So like once he develops more, once Lundqvist develops more, I think they're going to round out the defense. The only concern for me would be if they do what Steve said and do play stupid and let certain guys go that they shouldn't let go because they need more possession. But like Zibanejad, Laffy, Panarin, Kreider, Heidel, Kakko, if they don't trade Kakko, like those guys all have done well. And then like you need to get more possession guys. That's what I agree with Pearlo on the bottom six. Because they have a lot of high effort guys. Like Blaze a high effort guy, Dryden Hunt's a high effort guy. He brings the energy, but not much more. But I think they have a solid prospect system we're kind of overlooking when we say that they're not going to have a chance to.
Oh, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it has.
No. I don't think he was saying that. Yeah,
I'm saying it has to improve, and I don't think that the red flag for me is making moves like trading Buchnevich for Blais and Goudreau. If they keep on doing stuff like that, they're going to shoot themselves in the foot, and what they had, what Gorton build will come crumbling down. Gorton never would. Gorton never would have made those moves. Never. Right. Never in a million years.
Okay. All right. So now, aside from the fact that congratulations to Colorado for winning the Stanley Cup this year, congratulations.
Yeah, I'm sure they're listening.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they are.
They're not chugging 7 beers.
They took some time off of all their wine or champagne drinking to tune in.
Yeah. To tune in to watch the great Pearlo Wisdom show. Well, why not? Why should they should be?
Well, of course. I'm not kidding. I'm sure they did. I'm saying.
I know. Come on. So look, that was what it was funny because I was talking to Ronies earlier today, and she was asking me, well, how do you think teams are going to shake down this year? And I said, well, I don't want to get into that just yet because I want to wait until after the draft, and then I want to wait till after free agency hits and all that other stuff. But I do kind of feel that there's going to be some teams, like you guys were talking about the Rangers. I think the Rangers are going to be a force for the next couple years, but I also think that what they have to do is what Pearlo was talking about, and they have to make the right moves in order to get those pieces because they're really not that far away. Let me put it to you like this, okay? If the New York Rangers were looking for a coach right now, right, Tortorella would be the perfect coach to go back and coach the Rangers because they're only 1 or 2 pieces away.
Yeah, better than here. But I think the Rangers, I think they're more really close to this. It's just I don't know if they'll win next year because they have a lot of young guys.
Right.
Like if they're going to get rid of Strome and they're going to get rid of they're going to get even younger, but they'll still be fundamentally sound. I
agree.
It's all just about.
But they've got good core guys like Fox, like Kreider, like
their defense. Their defense is set. Lindgren, Fox, Miller. That's
Nemit's not starting next year. They have Lindqvist and
Braden Schneider is amazing.
Hunter Skinner is not even terrible in the minors. He's not going to be a starter, but he could be a 7th defenseman. So they even have guys that are at that level pretty much. And Zach Jones is at least a 7th defenseman. So
they need step up from Lafreniere, which I I would imagine he does after what we saw in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Capo Caco, I hope they realize what they have there. I'm a little bit concerned because it doesn't appear that they pay much attention to. Like I agree with like what Joe said about eye test. I'm an eye test person too, and
Yeah, you are.
yeah, I look at eye test first. I don't look at analytics all day and then say that's a good player. I look at the eye test first, and then like, okay, here's a good example. A guy that's out there right now to get picked up, as far as I'm concerned, if a team picks him up, that's a team that's probably not going to win a cup if the Colorado model is the way you're going to win a cup. And that is Josh Anderson in Montreal. Josh Anderson has gone downhill ever since he left Tortorella. He's gone downhill defensively so bad. And if you're looking at a guy like that, unless you think your guy is going to get him back to playing and he was never great,
Yeah,
but
I don't
back
think
to
they're
that.
looking at him per se.
But I hear there are teams that are looking at him big time. Now, I don't know if, like, say the Rangers were to do that. Say the Rangers were to trade Kako for him or something like that, right? I would say it's less likely the Rangers are going to be able to be effective in it.
Honestly, I think
I agree with that.
Yeah, but I think the more name that's going to be more shoved around, I think, from Colorado is probably going to be Kadri.
You're talking, yeah, but I'm saying he's
an FA. Well, yeah, he's
Montreal.
a UFA though.
Kadri will. I don't think they're going to sign. I can't see them signing. I can't see them signing Kadri.
Do you know? I also think there's going to be some teams that are going to take a step back this coming year. Do you know what I mean?
There's certain teams. A team that's going to be interesting is Minnesota. Talbot, I have confidence. I've always liked Talbot, and I think Wallstedt's a freak of nature.
Minnesota would do well to miss the playoffs next year.
But yeah, also like if they struggled, it wouldn't actually be the worst thing. Like I agree with Pearlo on that because they're going.
That's a good call. Yeah,
good draft pick. So like they're not going to try to do it, but if they did, it wouldn't be the worst thing. So like they're like a very 50-50 team for me. Next year, so to speak, basically.
Winnipeg isn't making it next year.
No, Winnipeg.
Here's the other thing too. There has been 10 coaching changes so far.
So there's a lot of systematic changes in the league too for all these teams too. So that you might see a lot of 2-month adjust periods for next season for a lot of these teams where they don't really hit the ground running until December, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I think. Gosh, we saw this too.
And we'll be one of them. Like the Flyers.
Yeah, that would be putting it mildly. I mean, look. Some of the teams though that I think are going to be able to take some lessons from what Tampa Bay did to build their team, what Colorado did to build their team, and they're gonna, maybe there's going to be more of a lean towards the Colorado way. I think because obviously they won the Stanley Cup. But I think with what Pearlo said, I don't think they're necessarily. Maybe that there's so much that goes into winning a Stanley Cup that you can't put your finger on one particular thing and say, if you follow this and do this all the way to the end, it's going to win you a cup.
It's a pyramid. It's like, you know how you watch those crime shows and there's like the whiteboard with like 85 different lines. It's literally that. Like that's why, like, if I was a GM, everybody that worked for me would probably like me, but also think I was nuts. Because I would be in my office like, okay, well, we could do this. And they're like, you have 75 different ideas on that thing. It's like, yeah, usually I just go, oh, screw it, I'll pick this one. And then if it doesn't work, we'll pick the next one. And then like, where like that, like, it's literally a smorgasbord of like different things are different things because there's a lot of speed involved in both games, but there's more toughness, I would say. Now Colorado can still beat the crap out of you if they have to, but in terms of like what they built their team around, I would say Tampa tried to model speed with still grit, and Colorado wanted to get enough grit that they had enough grit, but wanted to really beat you by just being so skilled and quick that the grit also there was just going to take over because Nathan McKinnon's one of the grittiest stars in a while. in a good way. That's why I've always liked Nathan McKinnon, because he'll score 7 goals in a week and also beat the crap out of somebody in that same week. So, like, I think he's definitely a throwback star. So the Avalanche are definitely a team. You both were right. I think I said I wanted them to win, if I remember correctly, but I picked Tampa again to three-peat. But I'm happy that I was wrong. This is one of the instances that I'm definitely happy I was wrong, because I did not want a three-peat. I would much rather have somebody else win. And the Avs have a lot of players that are easy to root for. So I'm definitely happy that they were. So does Tampa, but Tampa just didn't need to win another cup. I'm not saying Tampa has a bunch of awful human beings on their team. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying I see all them win 2 straight cups. I don't need to see them win a third just because.
You know, it's kind of ironic that they won the cup there in Tampa's building.
Yeah. I wish there was more wins. My friends and I were texting about that the other day, and I'll go to Pearlo on this because he hasn't talked. We haven't let him really talk much in a minute. I haven't let him talk much, but what's your whole feel on teams winning away? Because teams like you can't control it, but like so many teams in every sport, not just hockey, have won away a lot recently, and it kind of, in one sense, is a bummer because you don't get to see the full effect of the celebration. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does seem that it's just less pressure when you're on the road, and and then the pressure is on the other team in that situation in Game 6, right? Like they're the ones that up against the ropes, and you don't have the pressure of your fans watching and all those sort of things like that. Especially when a team like Colorado, and this might be something for a debate in the future with when you look at all the teams that have won the cup, but they have to be the team that has won the cup with one of the worst goaltenders to ever win the cup.
Okay, I mean,
I don't know if Kemper's one. Like Antti Niemi was not a good.
Antti Niemi was the worst.
Javi Bulin was mainly good.
Maybe Osgood.
Yeah, Javi Bulin was mainly good with what's his name?
With Tortorella, and that was it.
With Tortorella, yeah. But, so like he wasn't really that good either.
But he was crazy good when he was doing it. Kemper wasn't that great in the playoffs. They won despite Kemper rather because of Kemper.
I agree with that this year. I just don't think as a whole he's one of the worst goalies because he was great, wasn't healthy this year on a better team and just kind of took advantage of the better team. So like I still think he deserved to win a cup because he basically took the beating for all those years in Arizona, and then it added up, and that's why he got injuries. And then at least he did well enough to win the cup.
Yeah, but I'm talking about in the playoffs that they played. That I don't remember a goaltender that really they won despite the goaltender. Like even Antti Niemi when he won in Chicago, he was hot through that playoffs. He was never, his whole career he's got to be the worst. But Kemper was not very, he looked shaky a lot. And they still won.
Yeah. I don't think he was ever settled in because he was too often on the ice.
And he was coming back from an injury too.
Which he always is.
Right. But, that's and that was kind of the thing too, because I was kind of questioning who they were going to bring in to start. And when they started Kemper, I was like, all right. And then that first game, and they just came out and they blew the doors off. And I was like, all right.
That's a good way to win.
Sometimes coaches do that.
A good way to win without a goaltender is to not play. And this is the one big thing that I think with the Avalanche, that the stylistically what you're going to see teams do from now on
exactly
is that finally, and actually you brought up like teams like Chicago, but you brought up LA and Sutter. And Sutter's system is much the same as what Colorado's was. They played one of the best offensive possession games that anyone ever has, those LA Kings teams.
Especially against a Tampa Bay team.
Yeah, Colorado.
And also,
their offensive possession was awesome.
He got Calgary doing that this year too. Gaudreau's been the best possession guy in both zones he's been in his entire career this year. We'll see if it lasts on a new team, but with Sutter he was. There's it went back to what we said at the beginning. There's certain models of a team or a guy that just work everywhere when they have to fix a. It's not a really. It wasn't a sinking ship in Calgary, but fix a ailing ship, and then he was able to come in and get it going. With Tortorella, it is a sinking ship, so we'll see if he's able to come in and kind of fix that sinking ship, so to speak.
Yeah, well, all I think they did was just handing him a bigger bucket. Anyway, so, but I'm really liking what Colorado has shown. I'm really liking what they were able to do and win the Stanley Cup. I've seen a lot, I've watched a lot of Colorado games this year, and I watched a lot of Florida games this year on purpose, and I really, man, and I look at what Florida did, and I was like, oh man, they shine so good in the regular season, but that's not playoff hockey.
No.
And
It's
they
also
were able, yeah, and they were able to get past the first round. But I see. I think if Toronto would have beat Tampa Bay and Florida would have played Toronto in the second round, then I would have think that Toronto or that Florida would have won that.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I think Florida goes back to what, and again, I'll go to Steve for this because he called it. Bob choked in the end. So,
oh yeah,
I think it still comes back to Bob, and Steve. I don't know what your thoughts are on Odd. I think Spencer Knight's going to be very good. I don't know if he'll ever be as good as Oddie, but I feel like he's the guy that's going to take the torch next year. I don't think it's going to be Bob anymore.
I just think that we are blessed to be able to see what we're about to see for the next 10 years with goaltenders. Like,
oh, yeah.
Ottinger, Spencer Knight,
even Kochetkov.
Demko,
yeah.
Shesterkin. I mean, when's the last time we had a season where you had any one of these guys could, in the past 2 decades,
Soros,
would be the top 3, Saros, top 3 goaltenders in the league. Like these are just amazing goaltenders.
Especially because Soros' team plays so aggressive that he has to make saves that nobody's carding the one guy because the yellow team is literally on this end of the ice.
Yeah, and he's a small goaltender in the league.
Yeah, that's true too.
Which is incredible nowadays. But
wow, that's a very interesting point that you make too, because that's something that Colorado completely did over. This past season they redid their goaltending room and brought in Darcy Kemper and Francois and all that. And
Francois he was just injured. Remember?
Yeah, they let Grubauer go. Yeah.
They let Grubauer go. And then Carolina kind of did the same thing. Do you know what I mean?
No.
See, I honestly think that Carolina might be taking a step back this coming year.
Yeah.
It's going to depend on goaltending. I still think their team fits right into a team that plays too good systematically to lose.
It does, but man,
unless if they have an Islanders season of games lost or a Flyers season or a Vegas season, whatever team you want to use as an example of manpower lost, I don't see them struggling. And even then, they have one of the best prospect systems. So I don't even know how much I see them.
I just want to see them get past I just want to see them get. This team, I think Carolina is good enough team that they should be able to at least be contending for the cup.
I agree, but the problem is Freddie. They what Pearlo said about Colorado. Their biggest problem is their best goaltender is injury prone.
And Carolina's team, Carolina doesn't have Rantanen and McKinnon are better than anybody
all day
Carolina
long, right?
Has,
they don't have the offense.
Yeah. They don't have this. They don't have that impact offensive. I mean, I love Aho.
other than
Jarvis looks like he's is a damn good winger. Maybe even get to the heights of like a St. Louis. I could see Jarvis getting like that. Like that could be a guy that is an impact guy for them. And Svechnikov hasn't got to the point where he needs to go yet. So what he was projected to be. So I'm not going to say they can't. Svechnikov has the talent to be every good as Rantanen. But the one thing they will never have is the McKinnon. The next thing I think that's
a key point.
Another thing that I think is the funny thing I think the big thing with Colorado is the McKinnon Rantanen combination. Like it's sort of like their Crosby Malkin or
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Teams that have those two impact players like that, it's almost like the rest of the team can be mixed and matched in a lot of different ways.
Most teams' third player isn't their captain. So
yeah.
you didn't even mention Gabriel Landeskog.
That's the guy. Good point. Well, who's Carolina's Landeskog? Like their real leader that is like their spiritual leader, that the gut check guy.
Slavin, I guess.
And he's not really, right? Like I mean, they're missing that. I think.
It doesn't matter if they have that guy. He's not offensively as gifted as Landeskog is.
Well, Slavin's defenseman.
He's also
a
defenseman. Yeah, yeah.
But they don't really have that guy like that. I don't know how. You can't even put. I don't even know what the word is for a guy like Landeskog. Like he's a kind of guy that he brings fight to your team.
Yeah.
Like accountability. That's what they need. They need their accountability guy. And Brendan Moore, did you notice with Carolina when they lost to, who did they lose to again? The Rangers, right? The last 2 games or so, he looked like he first time I ever saw him look like he was worried.
Yeah.
Did you notice that? Or is it just me?
I did too.
He looked worried.
He did. You know what? Maybe it didn't look. Maybe it wasn't because maybe I didn't see it as worried. I saw it as maybe like frustrated.
That makes sense.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he always seems like he's got a rope around everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it just didn't seem like he had a rope around the Rangers at all.
There are people like that, though, that's kind of how they go by the groove of things, like keeping, like you said, like keeping a tight leash, so to speak, or rope around.
And we all know how wound Rod is. I mean, I can't even imagine him as a head coach.
Yeah, well,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think what happened is that he realized that he needs help in that area. Like Brendan Moore's an amazing coach, but he really needs some players. That's why I remember I said I thought that, but it turned out that Giroux had picked Florida, and that's only he was going to. A guy like Giroux would have been good for Carolina for that reason.
Okay, so imagine if Carolina went out and got Giroux on the cheap.
I think it would be a hell of a move.
Right.
Yeah,
if he's willing to go there, I think that, because he is that guy. He was the spiritual leader for Philadelphia, like that. Like he was that guy that kept people accountable and did it in a nice way, but he still did it.
He was that calm, quiet, play it out on the ice leader guy.
And while you're at it, it looks like
Giroux, from talking to people.
Wait. I want to hear what Pearlo said. Hold on.
While you're at it, it looks like they need cap space over there in Florida for a bunch of their players, like Huberdeau and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How about go get if you want to know a guy to me that is like the picture of accountability, because when he's on the ice, it is like impossible not to notice it because he like literally just yells at everybody. Hornquist in Pittsburgh. That is the guy they need in Carolina. A guy like that just can help.
Yeah, Mr. Accountability. Like Voracek was like that too during his time. But Giroux gets apparently does talk more than the public eye sees. Like he is pretty talkative.
Yeah, I mean,
per reports in the locker room. Like he's a very
No, I'm with
talkative
you.
guy. So
But
he is actually a talkative and lead by example guy. It's just the media only mainly sees the lead by example.
right.
So.
But still, do we not count as media?
Well, no. I'm saying I'm saying from talking to.
It was a trick question, bro, Joe. It was a rhetorical question, man. I was just goating on you, man.
I feel like he should go to Carolina. That would make more sense.
But I think that makes the most perfect sense. If Carolina has the cap space and give him, $3, $4, $5 million a year, that'd be the perfect spot for him to retire. And I guarantee you that him playing down there in that system would be just as productive as he was in Florida.
Oh, so you think he's going to see? I don't think Giroux's going to retire with the next team he goes to. I think he wants to play with Ottawa before he retired.
Which could be exactly where he's going to head to.
And he might just go to Ottawa next. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
Okay, right. I've heard rumblings of that too.
Like, I wouldn't be shocked if he just goes to Ottawa.
But yeah, right. Carolina to me would be best to find a guy like that. And I don't like. Those aren't too difficult to find. Like, just veteran. I think they were sort of trying to do that with Stepan, but Stepan doesn't have the legs anymore. Like, I mean, a guy that can actually play in your top 9 at least, and be able to lift these guys up and give them a kick in the pants when they need it, and all those kind of things like that. I think that's the one sort of the thing that's missing in Carolina there quite a bit. I think you saw it on Brendan Moore's face where he's like, I don't have a guy I can go to make sure that, to be able to bring this to the ice like I want it to be brought to. Even a guy like Tanev in Seattle, like maybe they're, something like that. Like a guy like even Yanni Gourde, he won a cup there. Guys that have been there, won the cup.
On defense, Letang's like that. If Pittsburgh can't keep everybody and somehow Letang ends up going elsewhere, he's an immediate leader in your locker room as soon as he steps in. Now,
there
Carolina,
you go, Pearlo. That would be a good move.
What's that? Who's that?
But if they let Tony DeAngelo go, you could get Chris Letang.
No, I like that.
From what I understand with Pittsburgh,
Letang down to Carolina.
Yeah, I could see that, but from what I'm understanding in Pittsburgh is that for some reason they are like they're going to sign Letang over Malkin.
Probably, because Letang has more time left.
Yeah. So
you know what I mean?
If they're going to sign him over Malkin, then yeah, I don't know what they're going to do in Pittsburgh, but like Joe said before, they'll probably make the playoffs regardless of what they do.
I mean, until they don't make the playoffs, you can't count them out.
I mean, they have a team. Boston's the same. Like, a lot of people think Boston's going to suck next year. Now that Bergeron's back, I don't think Boston's going to. I don't know why the hell they fired Cassidy. But I still don't think they're going to suck. Because they still have a team that's led by the same.
Well, it's just because Marchand's going to be out. McAvoy's going to be out. I mean, how many guys? Grzelcyk's going to be out again. That's.
That's the other thing.
Yeah, they're not going to get healthy until later in the season. So it all depends if they can survive.
Yeah.
Until say December or January, but if they can at least stay within 5 games, even 10 games of 500, knowing Boston, they're not a team that I would be concerned about thinking they can't come back and go on a run. Not even a St. Louis-esque run with everybody back, just because that's Boston's culture.
I got you. But my concern, though, is this. There has been, 10 coaching changes so far? In the league, and Boston being one of them. I mean, I, too, am, blown away that they fired Cassidy. But then after hearing from our resident Boston expert, it was pretty much a foregone conclusion that things were not flying the way they should have been flying there in Boston, and it was, either their way or the
Yeah, but
highway.
was that on Cassidy or was that on Sweeney? That's my real question to the Boston Bruins organization. How is it on the coach that the guy at the top that sucked for the last 3 years of his job is bringing that culture, yet you're the one that gets fired and he's the one that gets extended for literally. You want to talk about a guy that got extended for no reason. Don Sweeney does not deserve that extension one iota.
No.
So, like I said, our resident Boston expert said that it was pretty much a writing on the wall. And that doesn't, I don't know who is who or which side is which. It doesn't really matter. The fact of the matter is that Boston is now looking for a new coach.
Well, the thing that might save Boston anyways, even is Swayman. And we forgot to mention him. And we talked about all these amazing goaltenders.
Oh, yeah. Jeremy Swayman.
Swayman is another one.
Didn't suck. Like, Allmark, his only issue, again, we talked about goaltenders that can't stay healthy. He can't stay healthy. If he usually doesn't suck when he's on the ice. Like, even with Buffalo, he had his runs. He just wasn't consistent enough health-wise to be consistent play-wise. Last year, he at least played, what was it, like 38 games maybe? Like, so he played a decent, like a good bit of games. They kind of both counteracted each other because Swayman got cold as Allmark got hot. And then Swayman got hot, and they kind of rolled with him. But he's the better of the two. That's why he plays for Team USA and everything. But I think he's in that grouping, like you said, of all the goaltenders. We kind of forgot to mention him when we mentioned the great young plethora of goaltenders that are coming up, where Allmark's kind of in that more, we kind of talked about. He's better than a Francois, I would say, but like in a 1C maybe. Like, I wouldn't call him a 1B, but he can start. So I wouldn't necessarily call him a straight-up backup either. Because, like, if you had a guy that had to start 40 games, I would rather, if he's healthy, take Allmark than Francois, because Francois' track record is like 20 to 25 games.
Yeah.
So.
Allmark, they found some holes. He's got to fix those holes in this game. His side to side needs to improve quite a bit. But I mean, it was kind of weird because I don't know. He seemed like a different goaltender than when he was in Buffalo. Like, I thought in Buffalo he looked really good, and then he came to Boston, and I guess maybe it's just that's it. They had done the video work on him, and like all the teams do, after a while, you get to see a guy over and over again and go, okay, we just need to get him to go side to side here, or whatever the case may be. And if they find that weakness in you, like Louis Domingue, if you don't, is it his blocker or it's his glove hand, isn't it? Louis
Domingue's
glove.
If
you don't expose his glove hand, he looks friggin' awesome. But
I believe a certain Tristan Jarry falls into that category too.
Yeah.
Well, Jarry's blocker more than glove, isn't he?
Yeah, no, man. He got completely lit up.
But also, it's harder, like, when you go to the, like, I think most of the time people think it's easier to shoot to the blocker side. Typically, the goalie, at least I notice, favors that and gives you more of the glove because they think, like, some goalies also like the whole and trying to, like, have the chance to whoosh it out of the air. So, like, for example, Sergei Bobrovsky. So I think there's certain guys. Igor likes that too, but Igor can get away with anything. Igor could be all the way over there on the ice and swan dive back into the net and somehow make the save. So, like, there's same with Vasilevsky. But, like, I think nowadays it kind of fits into what people talk about baseball. Sometimes you got to let, like Pearlo said, why would that be the case? I don't think it is on Allmark. I blame the Bruins more than Allmark because I feel like when a guy goes to a team, sometimes, and it happens in baseball all the time, it doesn't always happen much in hockey, but I could see it happening with goalies like it happens with pitchers. They change their technique too much. Where until the guy says, get the hell away from me and let me do what I did my entire career, which is basically what Eflin did to the Phillies when they kept trying to shove analytics down his throat. I think that could be, I don't know, because I'm not with the Bruins, I'm not in their locker room, but I feel like just from seeing from the outside looking in, it gives off that vibe that they tried to completely change his style. So by doing that, it's going to take a full calendar season to. You can't just tell a pitcher or a goaltender to play a completely different style and expect them to be amazing as they were in their last one right away. So I think that's the issue. But the issue I would then have, if that's the case, is why the hell did you change the style when Buffalo is a terrible? Well, this year they were decent. With Allmark, they were terrible. Where he
why
was
would
still
you
able
change
to
the
play
style on
decent.
that guy?
Why would you change his style? Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I do like though that I really think though that Boston might things going to have to be a little different up there in Boston. They're going to have to deal with a lot of those particular injuries and things of that nature. But yeah, but I also wanted to talk about the coaching changes that have happened throughout the entire league, and there's been a lot of them, right? And did Boston didn't they? Who did they pick as their coach?
They didn't yet.
They didn't hire anybody.
They didn't hire anybody, right?
They're going with a no name. I'm pretty sure.
Because Trotz said he's going to be hanging up the skates.
Well, yeah, he is for now. Yeah, he looks like he did buy that house in Nashville, so I think I think that that didn't mean much to me at the time because he's got the money. He to have a house in Nashville, have a house in Winnipeg, have a house whatever, right? So I didn't mean much. Yeah. He found some good real estate in Nashville and said, "Okay, I'm going to hook her up there, and that's where we're going to retire." But that being said, the more I thought about it, it was like, he's got a family that has, doesn't his dad live in the Manitoba area? That's why I kind of thought, because his dad's not well, right? I thought that
I don't know.
That's what. Who's that Philadelphia Flyers insider kind of guy that we?
Jordan Hall.
No.
Bill Meltzer.
Yeah, Meltzer. Nice guy, by the way. Is there a nicer insider guy in the league? Like, I've talked to that guy. Like I've talked to that guy back and forth about something and didn't even realize it was him. And then I looked up and I'm like he's like just talks like he's talking to anyone.
Yeah, especially on YouTube or not YouTube, on Facebook. He's very responsive in the Facebook stuff.
Anyways, he said
we've had Billy on the show a couple of times. We've had Bill Meltzer on the show a couple of times.
Cool.
But also, this is probably because I have a job interview thing. I have a phone interview I have to do, so I could hop back on later. But this is a good time for me to head out. Yeah.
Bruins kicking the tires on Quinn, Mark Brown said, and that does make some sense. That does make some sense for sure. Didn't he?
That's kind of what yeah.
He was a Providence guy, wasn't he? Like
yeah.
Yeah, he makes a lot of sense. He makes a lot of sense.
He does.
I could see
he
Quinn
does for sure.
But where were we? Oh yeah, Meltzer said that Trotz told the Philadelphia Flyers that he was going to take time off to be with his old man because he's really sick or something. Hey, Lauren, how you doing?
Okay, that's cool.
And it plays out because he did. So he wasn't really lying or anything like that. He didn't even go.
Right.
I thought he was going to go to Winnipeg because of that, but then.
Me too.
On the same note, if you're coaching, you're not really in the town. You know what I mean? Like you're gone as much as you're home. And even when you are home, you're involved in the work, and you just probably thought, you know what, I'm not going to be able to focus with my dad the way it is, so he just took it right off, which is good for him.
Yeah.
And I think he'll end up in Nashville as a general manager. He'll be the next. Poyle will be there until Trotz comes, or he'll become the assistant general manager and take over for Poyle somewhere down the road.
Or something like that, maybe in a year or two, right?
Yeah, probably. That's
okay.
That would be interesting to see how he would manage after seeing how he coaches.
But I wanted to bring that up because there was so many different changes. There was so many different, you know what I mean? That's why I wanted to bring that up, because it's not just that Philadelphia made a coaching change. Like Chicago's made a coaching change. Arizona's made a coaching change.
That Chicago one's going to be interesting.
I know, with Luke Richards, right? I'm going to be really excited about that one. because I think he's a good guy, man. He was an assistant coach in Montreal for a little while. They hired on St. Louis and Montreal permanently. They hired Woodcroft, accepted the job permanently, right? And then the shocker out of the whole blue was the Florida. Like, I can't believe they fired Burnett and now they got DeBure now, or Paul Maurice now is coach down there in Florida, right?
Yeah. I wasn't surprised that they have fired Burnett, and the reason why was because, basically he took over from Quenneville. He didn't change much from what Quenneville was doing. He just sort of rode that wave, and I imagine Quenneville would have been working a lot more towards their playoff game if he would have been able to stay there. Where
probably
all year long I was like, Burnett, you got to get these guys playing a playoff type game. You're not going to be able to just play a full forward press for 7 games and beat too many teams in the playoffs. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
You can try, there's just no way. And he wasn't able to do it or didn't do it. I don't know what it was. And when I saw him getting interviewed, like, he looked devastated in himself. He knew, it's like he knew that he was going to get let go. He knew really that he wasn't ready. And he's good. I think he could be a great coach, but like those are the reasons why it's tough to hire young new coaches like that in the situation that they're in. Because
exactly,
it takes experience to know how to bring guys up. You got to learn to do that. Cooper had to learn. Cooper didn't do it like he did the same mistake as Burnett, that doesn't mean Burnett's a bad coach,
right?
So, he'll get a chance somewhere, but that team needed somebody. Okay, let me ask you something, buddy. Is there something about Paul Maurice that rubs you the wrong way?
No.
I don't know, man. To me, maybe I'm wrong, but sometimes
I was just shocked at the fact that they got rid of Burnett in Florida.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying there is something about Paul Maurice that rubs me the wrong way.
Oh, so it's you then?
Yeah, I'm just asking you if you agree with me.
Oh,
there is.
I'll tell you. Here's the one thing that does kind of, and I think I know where you're going with this. And here's the thing that kind of gets me, is that he walked away.
Yeah.
Like everybody's like, hey, great for you manning up and saying that, you lost the room or whatever.
That's true. I think he probably did, but I see where you're going. Yeah.
Right. But
didn't it sound like he kind of he was sort of he wasn't saying the whole truth of the situation. There's something just didn't sound totally genuine about what he said. Did you get that? And I've noticed that with him a lot, actually.
That's the thing. Because we're just seeing it from this side.
Yeah.
And we're not seeing it from the other side. All we can do is speculate.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So if there's more to this than what we're going to see, then we'll see it down the road, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I kind of saw it a few times before when he got fired from Toronto.
Okay.
People were like, why did they fire Paul Maurice? And I think the reason, and it looked weird because, Toronto wasn't doing bad when they fired him. But I get the impression almost like Babcock, that in a much more sneaky way than Babcock is, because Babcock was just straight out.
I'm with you on that.
All about him, right?
Yeah.
And players have said it forever. Paul Maurice is almost like more passive aggressive about it. Like
Okay, I agree with you
he's
on
sort
that.
of, it's all about me, but I know it shouldn't be, so I'm going to try to pretend that it's not, but really it is.
See,
That's
now
what I
that's
get.
kind of
That's what I get from Paul Maurice.
see. That's how I feel about Tortorella.
Oh, really? Okay.
S-
I do think
well,
there's
let
a
me
definite.
let me
I do think there's a definite ego issue there with
see.
Tortorella.
That's
No,
it.
no doubt
I,
about that. I agree with you
okay,
there.
all right. That's what I think is going on with Tortorella. I think it's his ego, and his ego is. I have really tried
Oh,
to.
Lauren's makes a good point. Sorry, go ahead.
I know. But I've really tried to look at this Tortorella thing and tried to look at some positives. And I see that there's going to be some positives. But here's the thing. I made the analogy earlier
Mm-hmm.
where if New York Rangers were looking for a coach to come in and be that, like Florida would have been another perfect example, right? I think Tortorella could have been the perfect coach to come into Florida, right? And take that team and mold that team because he's got um leadership, he's got superstars, he's got goaltending, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's got all the pieces there in Florida, right? And I think he would have been a great coach to go to one of those particular teams that is one or two steps away from being in contention or already there and is trying to, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I think Philadelphia is too far away. I think they're more than one or two steps away from being in the playoffs.
Oh
And
yeah.
even if they do make the playoffs next year,
It's not a good thing.
it's not, yeah,
That's not
because
what they
now you're
want
just
to do.
ruining your chances of getting good draft picks in a good draft year.
Yeah, Tortorella is. I mean, Tortorella could very well at least bubble the team. He could get almost any team onto the bubble, right? He can do, and that's the bad thing. All they did was, and that's all that team could possibly. The best that they could become is a bubble team, which we've already
And
discussed to no end,
yeah,
and that's a terrible thing. That's the worst place you
exactly.
want to be. So, okay, so Philly is going to love Tortorella. Yeah, press conference, right, Mark? We
No,
didn't.
I'm not denying that at all.
Stars in DeBoer though. That I don't even know. I mean, they're going to be more offensive. That's the best I can say with that. Are they going to be
I
better?
mean,
I don't know. I don't.
I agree.
If Ottinger plays like he did in the playoffs, you might have been able to put a freaking rodeo clown in behind the bench. I don't think it would matter, really. Like, he's that good. Like, he may look DeBoer. This might be the best thing DeBoer's ever done for his career. If Ottinger
I
plays
agree
this.
because I think that's a good match down there.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I know Lauren, great hockey guy. Lauren, he thinks he's terrible. Mark Brown's also very well good. He thinks DeBoer is terrible. I don't think he's terrible. I don't think he's great. I think he's an average coach. What about you? Like,
I think he's going to get more out of Dallas than Montgomery was able to. Do you know what I mean? Just because he was able to build
you mean bonus?
team.
Bonus? Because Montgomery was before bonus.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the bonus, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that he's going to be able to get more offense out of that than the current crop of players. And he might be able to get them headed in a because I like how he's coached Vegas. Some of the most man games missed this year in injuries.
Yeah, well, I do think
Do you know what I mean?
I do think it was a ridiculous fire.
Right.
Because of where am I here? Am I behind?
You got Joe on top, so all we see is me and Joe.
That's what happened.
Turn off the Joe.
I wanted to put myself over Joe.
Yes.
And I ended up putting myself below Joe.
So change the order or turn the little eye off of Joe.
Yeah, let me find the other NDI source that I have.
Yeah, man.
There we go. Okay.
So yeah, I too. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about, Bill. I would have much rather have had um, Trotz. There we go. Now we see you. There we go, brother. I would much rather have Trotz than Tortorella because I think Trotz is more of a building type of a coach with younger players more so, and I think that Tortorella has too much of an ego, and I think that's why he took this job because he thinks his ego thinks he can right this ship and be the one and whatever and oh, Philly's such the perfect place for me and blah 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 blah. Yep, I agree. The press conferences are going to be engaging, that's for sure. But this team stinks, and they are gonna stink as long as Chuck Fletcher is still right driving the ship.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, I think he'll get them close to the playoffs, and that's just not like it.
Exactly.
But
But
DeBoer,
look,
DeBoer in
what
Dallas, I got to see it. I still don't know what DeBoer is as a coach. I
right?
know obviously some very fairly intelligent people think DeBoer is an absolutely fantastic coach because he keeps on getting hired before he even gets, you know,
I mean, he wasn't even cold out of the
before
job from Vegas.
before the ink dries on the last
Yeah, right.
he's got another job. So I have a tendency to respect that, and I'll give it some time. But it's really hard to it's really hard to tell how good of a coach you are. But I will say this: I just don't think that it's fair to fire a guy because you just barely missed the playoffs with what you said. You had the whole Eichel situation happen. You had no Stone. You had no Pacioretty most of the year. You had like I know why Vegas did it because they're like just want to send a message where there's no excuses and blah 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 blah. But I think when you how many coaches have they had in a lot like since they started, right? It was the Gallant. Was it
What do they
Gallant
have?
and then
Four now.
was it Gallant and then DeBoer, or was there somebody in between the two?
I thought there was somebody in between. I don't know. DeBoer's been there for a while, though, right?
Do I? Yeah, I think. Well, he should go back. Do you think that Berg that
Yeah. Okay. How's this for you? So we're calling it. We've changed the name of the trophy now. We're calling it the Bergie
yeah,
Award,
yeah, he
right?
should. He's
Because he's won it so many times now, and he's the example of what it is. So
you know what's killer about Bergeron is not only it doesn't matter if you're an eye test guy or if you're an analytics guy. It doesn't matter who. Nobody argues that Bergeron's the best defensive forward of this generation. Not a single person. That's what's
even
in.
now,
Yeah,
even he's contemplating retirement, and he's still
yeah,
winning trophies. Come on.
yeah.
Look, him coming back to Boston still keeps Boston in the relevant pile because with what we talked about earlier with their goaltending, okay, they have some pretty good prospects coming up through, but they're going to be a little bit hurt and coming out of the gates. So they're going to need as many guys as they can get. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And with Bergeron coming back, that just keeps leadership and that keeps everybody on the same keel.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it gives Boston that transition year with the new coach now and with Bergeron because this will probably be his last year. Do you know what I mean? So that kind of gives him that yeah, gives him that 1 year of transition with the new coach, pass the torch to the next guy, and move on.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I see. It Boston has potential to be a good team, and they've shown and proven that they can be a good team. And they've gone out in the last 2 years in the trade deadline and have just hit home runs. The last 2 trade deadlines, Boston has hit home runs. And then Taylor Hall came and signed for a long-term contract, right? And then they got Eklund, and he signed for a big contract. I mean, they have just knocked it out of the park the last 2 trade deadlines Boston has.
Well, I mean,
right?
they got some guys that can help them for sure, no doubt about it.
Right.
And whether it's like those guys put them over the top or not, that remains to be seen.
I'm not going to call them over the top guys. I'm just saying that they've been guys that have been able to come in and contribute and be good members of the team and being contributing members of the team.
So, okay, Bill, this is really what Bill's asking, I think. Like, first of all, do you think it's any possibility that Bergeron goes somewhere else other than Boston? I don't.
No.
Okay. With that in mind, if they get everybody healthy and go on a run, right? Marchand comes back.
Yeah, he said McAvoy, Cole, Swayman. Yeah.
Do you think they are a contender in the East as they are right now? Or I mean, they could still add some pieces, but
I think they're going to add some pieces, and I also think this too. And this is what I wanted to bring up. I think there's going to be some teams that take a step back, and the Capitals are going to be one of them.
Well, it could very well. I can't see why they wouldn't be unless they go out and get a stone cold amazing goaltender or something.
And I also think that Pittsburgh is kind of in that same boat, because no matter how you slice it, either Letang or Malkin's going to go, right? And they need a good consistent goaltender there, and one of those guys is going to go. I think Pittsburgh's going to take a step back this year too.
I say that every year. I
know,
and it never happens.
I know.
I'm
going to keep saying it.
I'm taking Joe's stance where I'll believe it when I see it.
I'm with you.
Because
I have to kind of say that, but see, then you have to say that about Boston too.
Sort of, yeah. Sort of, because and why is that? And why is that? Because we just talked about
that's
it. Right?
What I mean. You think, oh man, Boston, but here they are.
Yeah, then why is that? Because, well, with Boston's case, you have 2 of them. You have Marchand and Bergeron, probably the top 7 best leaders in the league.
Yeah.
And Pittsburgh Crosby. Crosby is I think the greatest leader I still say the greatest leader in the league. I'm going to say it. I still say the greatest leader in the league. I'm not saying he's the best player in the league, but he's the best leader in the league. There is no guy in the league, as far as I'm concerned right now, although McKinnon is heading that direction, that gets every player to play beyond their abilities and more than Crosby. Like, he challenges every single player on his team every day more than anybody I've ever seen.
He does kind of have that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, dare I say that Bobby Clark kind of. I mean, if you didn't play well, like I heard stories from Bill Clement and all those guys, and they said that, man, if Bobby Clark came over and sat down next to you, in your locker room or next to your locker or whatever, you know what I mean? If the captain sat down next to you and said something to you, you should probably listen to that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. Really? Krejci speculation come back? Well, hey. We'll see. If that happens, good gravy.
Well, it depends. I mean, he spent he's 38 now.
That's what I mean.
Like, how
much of an impact is that really? I mean, the leadership and the experience and all that, I understand, but
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. That's an interesting question. But I will say this, though. I think we're starting to see a shift in the NHL now, where some like the Carolinas are becoming more of the teams talked about, and the Floridas are becoming more of the teams talked about, and the Tampa Bays, instead of the Torontos, the Montreals, the New Yorks, the Bostons,
Oh, you're just
the
talking about like
Pittsburghs.
popularity for purposes, which is awesome for the league. Yeah.
Well, what I mean by that is a shift in like the good teams. The same thing I think is happening kind of out west a little bit too, where we saw now Colorado being one of the premier teams out there now. We're seeing Calgary stepping into that a little bit. I, I also agree with like what you said on the Hockey Writers Inc. show about McDavid and Edmonton. Now that he's gotten that fire and now that he's gotten that little switch turn, like what happened with Ovechkin,
Mm-hmm.
being able to play that 200-foot game and caring about that 200-foot game, all they need is goaltending. And man, I think Edmonton is going to be dangerous.
Yeah, they could be. I mean, I still think either goaltending might help them or
Might.
yeah, but I mean, I still think it's their defense is still pretty crappy. But what I'm hearing,
Yeah.
like you got to have one hell of a goal. It's like, let's put it this way: Darcy Kemper ain't gonna do it.
Not by himself.
And what better guy is there? Not even like it doesn't matter by yourself. That's what I have this discussion a lot in the Facebook groups when I do my videos, and they'll say all we need is a 1A 1B, which basically is saying you don't have a true number one. Okay, so what are you going to do in the playoffs? Unless you've got a possession game like the Colorado Avalanche, you know what I mean,
right.
where what do you get? Like Kemper, you switch goaltenders, and Colorado would have won that straight. Like if you put Vasilevsky in Colorado, forget about it. Like they're not even losing a game probably. Anyway.
Then they really would have played the shortest amount of games.
And Tampa Bay probably doesn't beat Toronto. Right? So
yeah, Tampa Bay. Look, if you took Vasilevsky off of Tampa Bay, they're not even the same fracking team, dude.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, I've got a lot of respect for Tampa Bay, and I have a lot of you taught me a lot about what it was like to look at a team and go, well, yeah, they might not necessarily be doing a certain thing, but here's what they are doing, and you should really look at this a little bit more closely. So when you look at those kinds of things a little more closely, you see, oh, okay, I see what Tampa Bay's doing now, and I get it, right? But they couldn't do that against Colorado. They couldn't dictate the play to Colorado. Colorado dictated to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so you need to get and build teams more with that kind of a mentality to where you're dictating what's going on the ice. Yeah, there you go. Bruce Cassidy bringing Vegas far in the playoffs because that's where he went. Bruce Cassidy was hired by the Vegas Golden Knights. How do you do?
We didn't talk about that. I mean, look at the. Why do I think that they hired somebody else before?
Who, Vegas?
After DeBoer, but anyways.
And you know what? It didn't take long.
No, I don't think they did. I think it was DeBoer that they hired, but they fired Gallant at the weirdest time, and then they fired DeBoer at a time when it was like really. That's why I thought Cassidy was like, do I want to go there where they could just fire me because it's cloudy outside, like.
I mean, that's the other thing.
That's what it seems like to me, but
yeah. See, that's the other thing that's kind of blown me away this year too, is why are they firing these coaches so bloody close to the draft?
Georgiev going to Edmonton, Jesus.
Do you know what I mean?
What's that?
Like,
well,
they fire
because I don't think coaches don't have much to do with the draft, to tell you the honest truth. They don't.
Okay, but a team that say doesn't have a direction or doesn't have a system in place, you need to kind of have that going for you in order to know who you want to draft. Yeah.
No, not really. Like if you got okay, like because usually you're hiring a coach, unless even if you're going to completely change your system. Once you get down after like 10 or 15, you're just taking the best player available, or you should be, anyways. You shouldn't be looking up positionally or whatever the case may be.
So
Like,
that's that. So that's the mentality then that I'm missing in the NHL.
like
Okay,
yeah.
because I'm more of a draft for a position kind of guy, and I'm looking for the best guy in that position.
I mean, all things being equal, maybe, or maybe even close to equal, but if you think that a guy is significantly better, like remember when I said that my guy with Philadelphia when they grabbed Forster was Vollander, and everybody was like, "Wow, we don't really need that defenseman in that position and all that kind of stuff like that." Vollander's crushing in Sweden right now. He got picked by Detroit. Wouldn't he look like he is a big, mobile, solid defenseman? Would that not look good in Philadelphia right now? I mean,
Let me tell you
that's
something.
that's why I say that you take the best player available because you don't know what you're going to be 3, 4 years down the road. You don't know.
Okay, see, in it's a little. I think it's a little slightly different in football though,
Yeah, because they're
because
older. They're older.
yeah, that's true too. They are older. They've already played in college, where a lot of these guys that are being drafted in the NHL haven't even played in college yet.
Yeah, which I don't agree with. I like what NFL does. I think we should be drafting at 21. That's what I think.
Okay, so let's get into this, man, because I really I love this. Okay, this is perfect, Perlo. Because let me just say this: I love what the NHL is doing as far as how they bring a player up and the pay structures and all that other stuff, right?
Yeah.
I like the fact that in the NHL, you basically have to prove it before you get paid. Okay.
Sort of, yeah,
I
but
mean, it's kind of changing a little bit now to where it's getting more NFL esque.
mhm.
And what I mean by NFL esque is this: you draft a player and you're paying him on potential. He hasn't played a single down in the NFL, and you're paying him how much money? Now, the collective bargaining agreement changed all the stupid, crazy first round draft pick contracts that some teams were offering guys. But the fact of the matter is this: in the NFL, first round draft picks, the top 15 guys get a guaranteed 5 year, $20 to $25 million contract with it's 4 years guaranteed, and then there's a 5th year option. Right? Second round guys get a 4 year contract, 5th year option, but their money structure's a step down.
Yeah, you get an entry level deal. Yeah.
No. It's just a step down. Instead of between 20 and 25 million, it's
Oh,
between
in the
15 and 20 million.
in the NFL, you're talking about. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
in
Oh,
the
yeah.
NFL,
Mhm.
right? And then third round is between 10 and 15, and lower and lower and lower and lower,
If
right?
you
And that's
sign
how,
them, if you sign
huh?
them, if you choose to sign them, that's what you have to sign them for. Is that what you're saying?
That's what yeah. So like first round draft picks coming out of the NFL right now, most of them, all of them right now, you'll see sign the max contract, which is 5 years, 25 million. Well, it's technically 4 years, $25 million, but a lot of teams. It's the part of the collective bargaining agreement to have the 5th year option,
Okay,
right?
so but isn't it true that like they're not that's not locked in? Like they can they can veto that contract at any time and then you're a free agent?
After 4 years, they can. That
Oh.
that 4 years
So if you
is
made it,
pretty much guaranteed unless you have an injury opt.
so if you make it into the first round, if you get drafted in the first round in the NFL draft,
Yeah.
well, at least does it go down like say you're drafted late in the first round? Is that less money than if you were drafted?
Yeah, technically those guys don't get the max contracts. Like
Okay.
you'll see guys in the top 10.
Yeah.
The top 10 guys get $25 million for 4 years with the 5th-year option. But what they do is they structure their signing bonuses. Right? So, yeah, you can only get $25 million a year, but your signing bonus might be $18 million.
Okay.
Right? So, yeah, you're getting $18 million right up front, and then you're only going to make $2, $3, $4 million over the next 4 or 5 years, or however way you structure it out.
Right, but
You
they
see
get
what I'm
the
saying?
they
That's
get the
what the
18
NFL
mil
does.
straight in their pocket, which is
So that's what the NFL does.
well,
And I think that is wrong.
I don't know. I guess I mean it kind of sucks that if you made it that far and you got it like right away. I mean, it depends on where you're looking at it from. Let's put it this
Do
way:
you know what?
if it
You
was,
have the same
it,
percentage of making it in the NFL as you do in the NHL in the first round.
yeah.
You have, what is
But
it, a
I think
20% chance of making it?
yeah, but I think if a guy made it as far as he did and he gets like that and he gets drafted in the top 10, I don't know. I hate to say it, but good for him. If he doesn't make it, he still gets his 20 million, and that's.
I'm not discounting that, but to me, that basically has rewarded you on something that you haven't done yet.
I think you're rewarded because you made it that far.
All right. Well, so then I would much rather go based off of the NHL structure, where you have to make it and then you get the bucks. You have to prove that you can be that guy that can play 18 20 minutes of ice and be that two-way forward, or be
Okay,
that.
well, I'll be devil's advocate here. Okay, the NFL has some of the best talent in the world, and it comes from just basically North America, United States, pretty much nowhere else.
For the most part.
Almost every single player in there is from the United States.
For the most part.
Right?
Yeah, I would say 98% of the NFL is
Right.
United States born.
And I'll tell you what, one of the reasons why they get that much talent out of such a small amount of people is because of that. In the NHL, we would probably get a heck of a lot more talent if they knew they were guaranteed to get 20 million if they got drafted in the first round.
Okay, but here's a major
a lot of guys
difference,
look
though.
at it and say, you know what, it's not really worth it. I get to go down in the minors and make $70,000 and maybe $150,000 with my signing bonus, and if I don't make it, I'm broke, and then I've wasted how much in my life, so I'm not going to bother.
Okay, but at least in the NHL, there are other opportunities and places for you to still get paid and play.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Whereas in the NFL,
you can go to Europe or whatever. Yeah.
Well, they don't really have the Europe teams anymore, right? They're just now starting to bring back the USFL and with some of these other satellite leagues that haven't really been able to do squat.
Most of our CFL guys are all from the United States, for sure.
Okay, but that's only the other place to go.
Pretty much, yeah. They really should get more of that going on.
Okay, so if you don't make it, you're pretty much stuck like Chuck. Right? Yeah. In the NFL or in the NHL, if you don't make it as an NHLer, you still might be able to make it as an AHLer. And a career AHLer can still make upwards of a couple $1 million over their career.
Bill's asking how many years is the Stanley Cup dented? It's dented pretty much every year.
Every year it gets dented. Every year.
They just fixed it.
I saw a special on the cup, right? It was an excerpt of the special called Names on the Cup. And the real cup, like the full Stanley Cup with all the original rings, right, is like over 60.5 feet tall. Something crazy like that, right? It weighs like 80 some pounds because it's got so many rings on it. So don't they take the rings off and put them in the Hall of Fame?
I don't know how that
Right,
works.
because it's only 35 pounds now, and it's
Yeah, I
only
think they take the bottom one and probably put it in the Hall of Fame.
yeah. So I think it's like every 20 years,
I
right?
don't really know, to tell you the honest truth. I never even thought
Okay.
about it, but yeah, I don't
Okay,
really know.
it's like that every 20 years or every time they fill up a ring, and then so they that you know so the but yeah, the Stanley Cup is dented every year. I mean,
Yeah,
how could it not be?
it's been thrown in pools. It's been thrown off of
I mean, come on.
It's been it fell off of the fourth floor of a hotel before. Yeah, it's been damaged up quite a bit.
Yeah. By the way, Bill, that was not McKinnon. It was Nicholas Abe-Kubel who was the one that tripped and fell into the goaltender and dented the trophy.
Oh, is that who it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about like Obey Kubel. Could you not get any luckier than Obey Kubel? Get picked off waivers that was off waivers, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
They sent him on waivers. To me,
you mean to tell me he can't fit into the system in Philadelphia?
Ridiculous. That and there's a good example of a organization that just doesn't understand talent at all.
Which is why I completely disagree with the Tortorella hire in Philadelphia.
Well, I mean, I get the hire because they don't know talent. You might as well bring in a guy that can bring no talent into the because they're going to do what they're going to do. It's a good hire. It's just what they're going to do is so wrong. You know what I mean?
All right.
I wish they would.
If that's the way I have to look at it.
I wish they would have messed up that.
Yeah.
And got in somebody brought what's his name? We were just talking about Quinn. Because Quinn's not going to be able to do much with a team like that right now. He's just a guy out of college. You know, he hasn't built up his ability, his coaching knowledge enough to be able to take a ragtag team into the playoffs. Quinn's not going to be able to do that. That would have been great. Right. We would have totally missed the playoffs, probably been one of the worst, had a chance at Bedard, all of those things that we should be doing. But no, they brought in a guy that will make us a bubble team. They picked the right guy to get us into the bubble.
Look, here's going to be the thing, and Lance and I talked about this on our show last week on the Hockey Writers Inc., which we had the distinct honor and privilege of having the great Pearlo Wisdom sit in when Lance was on vacation. And I'll tell you what, we both agreed that that's exactly what's going to happen here. This team is just going to be a bubble team with him. Mm-hmm. That's as best as it's going to be. Yep. And that's the sad part about it. Yep. Is that they brought this guy in here to be, at best, a bubble team. Okay? If you really want to blow it up, then blow it up, because this team needs to be blown up from the top down. They need new coaching. They need new medical staff. They need new development. They need new ownership. They need new general manager. I mean, they needed it all new all the way across the board. Yeah. So I just don't like what to me, this signifies that the Flyers have no clue as to what's going on, that they think that they're one or two steps away, and they brought a coach in that is the perfect coach for that. I am not disagreeing with you at all, Pearlo, and everything that I've heard from Tortorella has been the perfect things that all coaches say in the summer.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right? accountability and looking forward to it and a lot of work to do. And
Oh yeah,
I'm going to tell you something, man.
He will do it.
The one thing about what's going to happen in Philadelphia, we got to learn real quick who's going to come and who's going to stay.
That's the good thing about it.
Exactly.
And also but like I said, the other thing will be, but I don't know how much it's going to matter long term. But I'm almost willing to bet that Carter Hart's going to have one of the best seasons he's ever had.
I'm so looking forward to Ivan Fedotov as well coming in and playing with Carter Hart as well too. I based off the question that Bill said, I think Fleury might come back to Pittsburgh. What do you think, Pearlo?
Well, that's what I've been saying all along. I don't know if they're going to be able to fit him in. If he's willing to not worry about the money and just go there and see if they can win one, I'm leaning to that possibility. Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't think he stays in Minnesota.
I can't see it. It's an awkward situation. It was awkward anyways. Like Talbot was there the whole time, and then they bring him in. I think it's still awkward for Talbot. How do you?
Right.
Now you're going to be the number one again after you brought in Fleury. He's gone, and now I'm the number one again. Like, it's weird. It was weird. But I understand why they did it too. At the same time, but I guess Talbot just very mature and says, he's one of the greatest of all time. I'm not, but I'll do the best I can, and that's all you can do.
I mean, he was definitely the consummate professional, that's for sure. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that's the thing. And, we've talked about some of the hottest goaltenders that are going to be out there coming up, but we haven't really talked about a crop of the next ones yet. And I'm just not seeing it yet. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just not seeing it.
The next teams, you mean?
No. The next crop of good goaltenders coming out.
Oh, from that are not in the NHL right now?
Right.
Well, there's one that
there's one in, but yeah, there's a couple of them.
Nashville. Also,
right.
We just mentioned Minnesota.
Right, and we also mentioned Spencer Knight, and I also think that Ivan Fedotov in Philadelphia, and I know that there's some stuff in Buffalo, but I'm not saying that there's not. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying we haven't seen that yet.
Could be Fedotov. But, I mean, that goaltender that Minnesota went up, Jesper Wallstedt. How did he do?
Yeah.
They moved up in the draft, and it should have been Edmonton picking him. And what did he do this year? Oh my gosh. 22 games in playing against men, 1.98 and a .918 save percentage.
Who's that?
Jesper Wallstedt.
Yeah.
From Minnesota. So
yeah,
there's a guy. Then of course the Nashville Predators, the Russian guy, I always forget his name, Askarov. He looks like he's going to be a darn good one. Detroit, the one guy who just won for the Edmonton Oil Kings, actually won the Western Finals, but didn't get to the Memorial Cup. That they drafted in the first round, actually before Wallstedt.
Oh wow, okay.
Edmonton drafted a pretty good player in Xavier Bourgault there, but
yeah.
Kosa, Detroit. Kosa, there's
Kosa. Yeah.
So those are the new guys that are coming up. Yeah.
Going to be interesting to see how that's going to go.
There you go. I don't think Letang's
the Blues Brothers line. Fleury, Malkin, Letang all signed 1 year for the Blues Brothers.
I don't think that's going to happen, but that low. But the Blues want to trade Husso, and they can't trade Husso. Husso is a free agent, so.
And I think Tarasenko has asked for a trade, but
I suppose they could trade Husso if the team wants to sign Husso to an 8-year deal. I don't think that would be wise. because he's only really had one good year. Somebody's gonna take a big risk on Husso this year. I'm here in New Jersey, and Tarasenko. I don't think they want to trade Tarasenko, but
I think Tarasenko wants to be.
well, so he said, but then it sort of sounds like maybe he's kind of reneged on that now. He's kind of like calmed down.
Well, maybe what he did was he realized that if he doesn't play and doesn't play well, that doesn't look good as being somebody that wants to get traded, or you know what I'm saying?
Well, he wanted to get traded at the beginning of last year.
No, I know.
But
I know, but what I'm saying is that instead of being the guy that's going to sit back and, pout and, oh, well, I'm not going to play if you're not going to trade me, maybe he's just like making the best of it.
I suppose, but he went all year last year, and if he really, really, really wanted out, he could have pressured them all through the year to say, "Look, okay."
Maybe they weren't able to do anything. That's just that we don't know.
My inkling is that he stopped pushing and they made amends and they did some things that because
or maybe it what was, they said to him.
Do you know what it was about? It was about his injury. They questioned him about the second injury.
Right.
The second surgery that he didn't need it or whatever on his shoulder.
Right. They questioned it.
Yeah, and and as a player, he lost trust in them.
So maybe what I'm saying
and I think their doctors were probably saying one thing and blah, blah, blah. Same as sort of what happened with Eichel. But it sounds like they made amends.
Or maybe what they did to him and said was, hey, look, we tried to move you this year because they tried to move him and they weren't able to. Do you know what I mean? And I think they probably made
I don't think they tried that hard.
Well, but in my opinion, they tried to move him, weren't able to move him because their asking price was too high, and no team was able to pony up that. And there was still a lot of question marks about him coming out and playing after having the shoulder surgery, the third one, or whatever the case is, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I think this year was more of him coming out and proving that he is still a good, capable player and still good, capable trade fodder, and that he would be worth somebody trading and things of that nature. And I think that's what they said to him and said, look, if you go out and just play and be the kind of guy that you can be, we'll try again and see if we can get you moved and whatever. That's just my opinion. If he doesn't move, hey, man, he played real well this year, so that's a bonus for them.
Yeah,
if they can keep him.
I've been reading stuff, and from what I understand, it sounds like it's water under the bridge now. Like they've made a
Okay.
That's what it sounds like to me. So
okay, I mean, like I said,
how do you feel about Woodcroft?
I think that's a good move, man.
I don't think they have much of a choice, really.
Right, but I think it's worked out for Edmonton. I think he was able to get more out of the team than Tippett was. Yeah. Look, I don't think that Tippett is a bad coach.
I think Tippett was just saying, look, this is where you gotta play to win a cup. And it doesn't matter to me that you didn't give me the pieces to play that way. It's the way you gotta play. It's the way you gotta play. So this is the way you're gonna play. And if you want to get pieces to play that way, then go ahead. If you don't, then we're still gonna play that way. Tippett, that's what I think Tippett did. And and Woodcroft said, no, we'll play to win and we'll try to win that way. And I still think Tippett's probably right. But that being said, I was really impressed by Woodcroft in many different areas, weren't you?
Yeah,
the way he handled the media, the way he very professional, all of the things. Do you agree?
I agree. I think that was one of the best moves that happened as far as coaching change. I think that if they didn't make that coaching change to Woodcroft, that they don't make the playoffs. I also think that if they didn't make that change to Woodcroft, that we wouldn't have gotten that switch turned on like you talked about with McDavid. Okay. Right? that now he realizes he's got to play and he's got to be concerned about what he's doing on the defensive side of the ice instead of just what's on the blue line. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I really think that was a good move, getting Woodcroft there. I'm just – there's a lot of coaching moves that were made this year, and I'm really interested to see how some of these teams are going to shake down with all these coaching changes, and especially with the draft coming up here in a week or so. Free agency hitting, and it's going to get real interesting here real soon.
Oh, yeah, I think it's going to be a crazy offseason. I think there's going to be a lot of movement out there. Mark Brown just mentioned, I don't know, I guess it's all the hum in New York right now is this Drury called out Panarin, and apparently there's a rift going on, and they're going to trade Panarin. Now, I will say this. I'm not so sure about that, about a rift, because Panarin, first of all, if Panarin was going to have a rift with anybody because of, calling him out, I would have figured Tortorella would be the guy, right? And he loved Tortorella. He thought Tortorella was a great coach. No, doesn't talk anything bad about him at all, ever. Nothing. But I could see Drury doing something here because I did a possible Lafreniere getting traded video about a little while ago. Everybody might want to watch that. It's possible that what he's doing here is he's seeing that they're going to have way too much money wrapped up on their left side. And if they can find a way to piss off Panarin and get him to waive his NMC, they can solve that issue. So maybe he's trying to stir something up there to get to and not only that, just not stir up Panarin for that reason, but also to like we've mentioned before, we always have to bring this up when you're talking about players like this, like in Buffalo with Eichel and all those things like that, that they got to really be careful of what they do with the sponsors around them and stuff like that. The reasons why they do the things that they do. And Panarin is like money to sponsors.
That's a great point, Pearlo.
Panarin is money to sponsors. Like he is like the face kind of the franchise. And if he doesn't really sell it well that he should go for reasons that make it almost look like Panarin wants to go, his owner, the owner of which is MSG, or what's the owner like? The owners of the Rangers, I don't even know what it's a conglomerate, right? They're going to be pretty.
Yeah.
They're not going to be backing him to say, no, wait a second, dude. We got this sponsor and this sponsor and this sponsor paying us this much money for Panarin's but to be on that rink, we can't. You got to come up with a reason and some reason, and we got to smooth this over. So maybe. I think it's more or less just him saying you got to be better. We're paying you $11.5 million, 16 points in 20 games, and the way you played, it was good, but we're not paying you to be good.
I mean, I'm with you on that, and I also really liked the video you did about Bobrovsky. That was really good too, man.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's interesting, Bobrovsky, that's for sure.
Because that's the only way that would have to, because let's face it, he is the liability in Florida. I think.
I think so. He is one, especially at $10 million. But if you look at his numbers in a lot of ways in the regular season, he's actually got pretty good numbers considering they didn't really, commit themselves defensively all year.
So that's the other point. That's the other part.
But did Bobrovsky get them there? No. Did Bobrovsky lose it for them? No. You know what I mean? So at $5 million, is he really that much worse than a lot you could get out there? I don't think so.
The problem is, though, is that will Bob take the $5 million?
Well, what I mean, like they can retain half the salary
No, I know.
on a trade, and he still gets
Yeah,
his money.
he'd have to get traded somebody, and
But
somebody would have to take on that
but
5 mil.
will he waive his no trade clause?
Right. That's what I meant to say. I'm
But
sorry, my mistake.
I think it's possible that he could, because like it's gonna get awkward there pretty soon when Spencer Knight is way better than you are. And they got to sign guys like Huberto and guys coming up, and you got to look yourself in the mirror and the teammates every day. If they can't sign Huberto and they know you're the reason why, and you're not even our number one right now,
I mean, that's
awkward, man.
I agree. And if Panarin leaves New York, whoa, that changes the dynamic in New York. Okay.
What kind of
If
deal is that
Bob,
going to look like, really?
yeah, if Bob leaves Florida, I think that improves Florida. Because it's going to free them up to some extent. I mean, unless they buy him out.
I don't see that happen. The cap hit would be too outrageous. I think if they can retain, they will. I don't know if it improves them. Spencer Knight is really, that's putting a lot of pressure on them. They'll still have to get another backup, but hopefully on like a 1-2 year term, like Grice or something like that.
Right.
To help out this kid.
Yep.
So I don't know if they would be improved, but I mean, they're going to get worse if they can't sign Huberto, forget about it.
Exactly.
What's he used to do?
On that.
What's he used to do in all this if you're not going to sign Huberto? I mean, really.
So, my question though is this: why? I don't understand why they would be trying to push Panarin out though, because he was one of the reasons why they made it to where they were.
Who's that?
Panarin. Why would Drury try to be pushing him out? Why would they?
Okay, well, like first of all, you got Lafreniere. Lafreniere is not going to settle for third line money. Okay, he's a number one left winger, and he's like a kid now, so they're okay. They're getting it away with it right now because he's on his entry level contract. But when it comes contract time, he's going to get paid, right? And you already got Kreider there. He's getting 6.5. So where does Panarin go? Either Kreider's got to go down to the third line, but you're spending a lot of money on your left side right now. 11.5, 6.5, and whatever Lafreniere gets. I think they would like to sign Lafreniere to something like 7 or 8 for 8 years right now. Get him signed up, and that'll look beautiful down the road. Sort of like what Colorado did with McKinnon, right?
Right.
But then you're wrapping up a whole crap load of money on your left side. And Lafreniere has not looked good on the right side. Panarin can't play the right side, and Kreider can't play the right side. So if Panarin is going to get 11.5, I understand what Drury's saying. We need a superstar, not just a star.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're going to we're paying you 11.5 million, we need a superstar. Because
that's exactly right. Because that's superstar money.
That's superstar money. I don't disagree with what Drury's saying there. Now, how does Panarin react? So far, and Mark Brown says that Panarin was a Gorton guy. I'm not sure that Drury would have turned down Panarin if he had the choice too. But I don't disagree with Drury in that sense. You've been paid $11.5 million. You think if Panarin was in Philadelphia right now, and you look at the guys making $11.5 million out there, he played well, but he didn't play. He didn't blow your mind when you watched the Rangers, did he? Did he stand out to you, blow your mind?
Like the fact that he's making that kind of money, really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was on that scale.
7.5, yeah, or 11.5. He's getting he's getting 2 times McKinnon. But I mean, that's just McKinnon right now would probably get about 12. I mean, McDavid's getting 12.5. He's getting 11.5. So
Okay, but he's, as far as I'm concerned, like that's a guy you hang from the rafters. The picture that you hang off the side of your building. That's the guy that that's the guy that's selling tickets and putting butts in the seats for you.
Yeah.
Right? That's your superstar. So I got no problems with that guy making that kind of money. Right? But to me, Panarin, I mean, he's not. He doesn't.
He can be though, I think.
But he hasn't been.
Right. Yeah.
See, that's the thing.
All year, really. He hasn't been that.
And even when he was at Columbus, he has flashes, but he's not putting up these big, ugly, gaudy numbers.
He was never worth 11.5. I agree.
That's what I'm talking about.
Did he have a 100-point season though when he was in Columbus? I think he might have.
Oh, maybe.
Let me bring him up here. I'm in
our crack research staff.
Yeah. Sally, can you bring me up the Panarin numbers there, baby? Yeah.
Yeah, right,
Sally. Yeah, bring it up there. Dear, right now. Come on. What do I pay you for? What do I pay you for? Let's go. Okay. All right. Sally will be back with it in a second here.
So I don't think he's got.
Okay. Thank you, Sally.
Just in
95 he got, and that was with the Rangers. 69, but in 69 games, so he was on a 100-point pace. And he was 96 and 75 is not that bad this year, though. It's not that bad, but his playoff performance wasn't really.
Not for $11.5 million a year.
Yeah. I mean,
to be not that bad.
Yeah, I'd still say he's worth 11. He's not totally terribly overpaid, but I don't disagree with Drury for calling about when his number, because you at that kind of money, there's no reason, there's no excuse to have an average playoff.
Right. See, Mark is right. Mark Brown's right. He wanted to go to New York. Panarin did.
He told everybody.
Right.
He told.
That's where he wanted to play.
That's one thing I got to respect about Panarin is he did not hide that at all. He told Chicago that. That's why they traded him to Columbus. And Columbus was hoping that they could convince him, kind of. But they wanted to put season tickets in the seats, too, and he does that. So he said he was going there the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, what? So
we should probably. I got to get going here. Unfortunately, I want to keep going, but I think I got to.
I know. We'll answer this last question here from Bill. Do you think Toronto kicked Jack Campbell down the road and go after Fleury? No, I
don't know. I don't know if Fleury wants to go there.
I don't think Fleury wants to go there, but honestly, I think Jack Campbell was one of the reasons why Toronto was as good as they were this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't think he's a guy that brings you to the promised land. But
I'm not saying that he's going to bring you to the promised land. I'm just saying I think he was one of the reasons why they were a better team this year.
He had his good days, and I mean, if Kemper can win a cup, I suppose they can too. With him, maybe.
The thing of it is that Toronto needs to be a little bit more dedicated to the defensive side of things too.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think they need to bring in. I mean, they've got Austin Matthews and they got Mitch Marner, but I think they need that one more.
I think they need better forward depth.
Yeah.
But I think their defense is going to be better next year. Liljegren, I've really liked Liljegren's progression. He looks like he's going to be really good. You got Sandin there, stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought Toronto did a step forward this year.
Why not bring? I don't know. If Fleury will go there, it's worth the shot. I mean, you don't need to screw around with Campbell. I suppose if he'll go there, give it a shot.
Why not? Yeah. I mean, if he's willing to go there and they're able to take him, sure, why
If
not?
he can play like he did for Chicago, which was really good.
Yeah.
Minnesota was awkward. He looked awkward. Everything looked awkward.
Yeah, he doesn't. That just him in those green and gold pants and colors and pads. That just did not look like Fleury. I'm sorry.
And not only that, it's just like you're with Talbot. All of a sudden, you're bang into a situation where you're under a defensive system. You never played behind these players before. And it's just a weird.
And not
situation.
only that, they brought Talbot in what 2 years or a year ago to be the guy to help them get to the playoffs. And the guy they brought in to help them get to the playoffs, they just said, "Yeah, hold my beer."
Yeah, but
we're bringing in Andre Fleury.
On the same note, I think it was right by Guerin to think if we do have a chance, this is probably it.
Right.
Because they weren't going to win with Talbot.
I mean, if you have a shot to get him.
The only way they've had a shot is if Fleury just totally went off.
Yeah.
And even I thought it was like, you know what, it probably is. But it's a tall task for any goaltender to come in just bam like that. And yeah.
Just take over.
Okay, we got to get going. I got to cook. I got to get going. I got to cook some supper and stuff. So thanks for coming on, Steele. It was great to try to. I think I've got it sorted out. I might be able to do this a little more. I've got a little bit of. I'm trying to get it where I'm doing a morning and night thing, and I have time in the day to do this a little more because I missed it. So.
Yeah, man. Trust me, dude. We're there.
Yeah.
Okay. So, thanks for having me on, man. This has been great, dude. I have missed this so much. Mm-hmm. You know, we got a lot of stuff going on. I still got the Hockey Writers Inc. is going off.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be doing that. And we had Jim on a little while ago. Me and Joe did. We talked to him and everything. And then, so thank you, Pearlo, for all you do, man. Really appreciate that. Hey, guys.
Cool. That's Jim Jackson he's talking about, the voice of the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah, Jim Jackson, man.
You really want to get over to Hockey Writers Inc. They're getting a lot of people that you may have heard their names of before on there now. And
you might hear some of them come in a couple of weeks here. We had Connor Kruth on, I'm sorry, and we also had Stephen Holliday on, two guys who if you go to Lance Green's stuff on Flyers Nitty Gritty, he's got articles out there based off of those guys, and that's based off of our show, the Hockey Writers Inc. So you got to go check that out. But we had those guys on the show. We interviewed those two players from the USFL, or the United States Hockey League, and we hope they get picked this year in the draft. That would be good.
Yeah,
probably in the later rounds, but still would be good.
Okay.
So. You can find me on Twitter at SteelFlyers52 and can find all the great work from all of us at SteelFlyers.com. Thanks, everyone.
Have a great day, everybody. Check out my last video as we were talking about that. We talked about Austin Matthews, and there is a lot of chatter about where he is what his value is. So I decided to go to every team and say, pretend, I don't think this is going to happen. It's not a rumor or nothing. If Austin Matthews was traded to your team, what would you give up? And I'm doing that. I did Anaheim to Colorado.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think
I could give you a list right now.
That you would give up at Philadelphia?
Yes.
Oh, I would give up everything we got. Like, are you kidding me? Carter Hart, freaking everything.
Wait. No. Hold on. Fedorov? Or,
Fedorov? Couturier?
No. Fedorov. No. I'm sorry. I can't think of him. He plays for defense for us.
Oh, yeah.
Provorov, that's it. So I get rid of Provorov, Travis Konechny, Sanheim, Frost, a number 1 draft pick.
Yeah,
and JVR just for giggles.
No, you don't want you. They're not going to want JVR. Couturier is gone. First thing. As much as I love
either
Couturier,
that or Ellis or Hayes.
That's Couturier. If you're trading,
he's the only one that's got any value.
You watch the videos if you even had a chance, because while we'll talk about it in the video, the Colorado one is basically, would you trade McKinnon for Matthews? So we're going to find out.
No.
Really? Who would not? Colorado wouldn't trade McKinnon for Matthews, or Toronto wouldn't
Want to break up what's going on in Colorado.
Oh, man. See, this is what's going to be so exciting about it. So check it out. All right.
Check it out.
That's our full 42,
Thanks, brother.
everybody. Have a great day. Lots of love to you. Okay. Bye.